Internet, my name is Peridiam, and what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object?
Cirie, you want to say it?
The tribe has spoken.
Damn. The first unlucky Survivor player to grace this top 5 is someone who I think a lot of fans are expecting me to mention. While I am trying to steer clear of first boots who had bad luck in a single episode, or players who were swap screwed, because it may as well just be a video about players getting swap screwed, or Jonathan and Wanda. I mean, honestly, they probably deserve their own video. Instead, I gotta say, it's highly unfortunate that a player is forced to play with their nemesis on 2 separate occasions and also be the first boot both times. Once would have been bad enough, but twice, you gotta make an exception here. I am talking about number 5, Francesca, from season 22, Redemption Island, and season 26, Caramoan, Fans vs. Favorites 2. First off, yeah, Franny plays with Philip in both her seasons, on the same tribe. She even tried to work with him at first, both times. She has the misfortune of playing against Boston Rob, the only returning player on her tribe, who's playing for his 4th time. Count that. And she decides to go against him out of the gate because, well, how'd working with him go for you all, Ometepe? Oh, look. Rob won the season in one of the most crushing performances ever. There's a reason Rob's alliance was dubbed Rob Zombies. Francesca was living out the real-life version of The Last of Us. Her closest ally, Christina, finds an idol, and yet, despite this, Franny is the one voted out with a 4-3-2 split, so Christina doesn't even need to play it. But then she comes back 4 seasons later and is once again placed on a tribe with Philip. The good news for her is that she's got 2 real-life friends on her tribe in Cochrane and Andrea. The bad news is they both decide they would rather drag Philip the goat to the slaughter, and once he deems Francesca as his mortal enemy, there wasn't much wiggle room for Franny to work with. Cochrane and Dawn were playing the middle, but they chose to keep Andrea largely because one side was led by Brandon Hance. And then neither Eric nor Brenda talked much strategy with Cochrane. It's gotta be said that Franny was voted out not because Cochrane and Dawn wanted her gone, but because they were forced between a rock and a hard place. Cochrane wanted to work with Francesca, as did she with him, but the players backing her weren't in Cochrane's corner. For a player who gets taken out first, twice, Francesca doesn't do much wrong, and because of her unfortunate placement on both seasons, I gotta give her a nod in this top 5.
First person voted out of Survivor Redemption Island. Francesca. Francesca, the tribe has spoken. First person voted out of Survivor Fans vs. Favorites. Francesca. You need to bring me your torch. Francesca, the tribe has spoken.
Okay.
Number 4 is a player who I've always liked. Their boot episode is one of my favorites in all of Survivor, but not because they go. I am talking about Russell Swan from season 19 Samoa and season 25 Philippines. And it's episode 4 of season 25 that I love a lot, not when Russell is medically evacuated in his first season. Which, by the way, is really unfortunate to see happen. Only a handful of players throughout Survivor have been medically evacuated, but not all of them were leading their dominant tribe to victory when the rug was pulled out from underneath them. In season 19, Russell's first season, his Purple Galoo tribe was absolutely crushing the competition in challenges. Of the 10 pre-merge challenges they competed in, they won 8, and they were 6 of 8 when Russell passed out and was removed from the game. Russell was the designated leader from the very beginning, and clearly his leadership skills were proving effective. Russell worked so hard to the point of exhaustion, and that's what took him out in episode 6 when tragedy struck. Jeff Probst has said that this was the scariest moment for him through 19 seasons, and I believe it's probably currently like the second scariest after Caleb in season 32. And of course, the moment Russell is removed from the game, his tribe makes the merge with a massive 8-4 numbers advantage, and then immediately turns on each other and crumbles, eventually getting totally decimated, where 7 of the next 8 boots are from Galoo. It almost feels like Russell was the glue of Galoo, and once he was gone, the seams began to split. But that's not the end of it. Then he gets a lucky second chance at redemption on season 25, and guess what happens? No, he doesn't get medically evacuated, but he does get put on a tribe who are the opposite of Galoo in terms of their narrative arc. Whereas Galoo were strong in challenges pre-merge and then crumbled post-merge, the Blue Mat Singh tribe were awful in the pre-merge challenges, but post-merge strategically maneuvered incredibly well. Russell is put on a tribe of 6 players, and his tribe is really a tale of two sides. The first three boots were all pretty useless. Zane, Roxy, and Angie were dead weight, and Russell was frustrated. He gets a second chance, and this is how it goes. On top of the bad luck with his new tribe losing every challenge, his saving grace would be finding the idol somewhere at camp. The problem was the producers decided to get cheeky this season with the idols and hid them in plain sight as a prop on the rice basket. Other than in one other season, idols were never hidden like this. They clearly looked like idols and were usually hidden in the jungle or around the beach. But this idol was tricky and was actually well hidden. It took until episode 5 for the Matt Singh tribe to find it, and of course, it's the one idol that Russell needed to extend his life in the game. Matt Singh was constantly forced to play every player in every challenge as they were down in numbers each episode, and Russell was just gassed. He was never a big strategic threat, but when you're in a tribe of 6 and then 5, then 4, and then 3, there isn't really much room to hide anyway.
Fourth person voted out of Survivor Philippines. Russ, bring me your torch. Russ, tribe has spoken.
The third most unlucky, unfortunate Survivor player is someone who I have remarked before is in this top 5 years ago, tucked away in an Amazing Race video of mine back in 2019. That is a very deep pull. It's another returning player playing for their second time, and it is from season 16, Micronesia, Fans vs. Favorites. It's Eliza. And I am really just talking about Eliza's game in Micronesia, not so much in Vanuatu the first time she played. Every Survivor player has bouts of good and bad luck, and I would say in Vanuatu, she kind of splits the difference, maybe even gets lucky more than anything else, but that's definitely not the case for her second time out. Eliza gets a lot of bad luck thrown her way through this season, as every step of her way is riddled with misfortune that ultimately leads to one of the most unfortunate exits in the history of the show. Many fans are going to be remembering the "it's an effing stick" moment between her and Jason, her number one ally, at the merge, which was just a comedy of errors. She entered the merge down in numbers 8-2, and Jason, her closest ally, wins immunity, but he's also got an ace up his sleeve. He has got the hidden immunity idol. She can't wait to surprise her enemies at Tribal Council. Eliza then goes to check on the idol and is in a total state of shock. She gasps and realizes the idol is not real. It's just a stick. And her closest ally is a total moron. She actually doesn't even believe that he could be this dumb and thinks that he's actually just pranking her, but no, the sad realization sets in that he is actually being honest, which means Eliza is doomed. But that is just the end of her saga, because I would wager to say she is lucky to even get this far based on how the game around her was shaping up through the entire pre-merge. She starts the game with an alliance of 4, herself, Amy, Penner, and Yowman. They get fair play as a 5th, and then Cirie is kind of wishy-washy in the middle. They were targeting Parvati in the premiere and had half the tribe ready to vote her out at that first tribal. But then, fair play. Fair play abandons ship and asked to get voted out because he was in a lot of pain due to some preseason shenanigans. This crippled Eliza's alliance and put them down a number out of the gate. Likewise, Eliza was being targeted by the Lovers Alliance, so more than anyone, she was really unlucky to have Fair Play go here. So Fair Play gets voted out, and now Eliza's alliance is in a rough spot. Cirie was the swing vote, and she sided against Eliza, but chose to take out Yowman instead as he was a bigger threat. Eliza is now in panic mode until a tribe swap hits, where she's grouped with Penner, Jason, and Kathy against Parvati, James, Natalie, and Alexis. And here she finds herself again in a split 4v4 tribe, split right down the middle, except Eliza's tribe doesn't lose the immunity challenge. And you would think that that would be a good thing, but then you realize that with each episode in the swap where her tribe wins immunity, which, spoiler alert, is all of them, Eliza's game inadvertently crumbles more and more. In episode 6, her ally Penner is medically evacuated, while on the other tribe, on the other side, Chet, a player who could be used against the Lovers Alliance, is voted out on the other tribe. In episode 7, Kathy, another potential ally for Eliza, quits the game, meaning Eliza is now down 2-4 on the swap tribe despite not losing a challenge. Meanwhile, Tracy, a player opposing the Lovers Alliance, is also voted out on the other tribe. And then, right before the merge, despite Eliza's tribe winning the final challenge of the pre-merge, her closest ally in the game, Amy, is voted out. Just keep piling piling on the reasons. Eliza has almost no impact on any of this happening, and yet enters the merge so down in numbers, it's laughable. And then it actually gets laughable when her only ally left in the game reveals that he's got an effing stick. And he's dead serious. And yeah, for me, Eliza is number 3 on this list.
9th person voted out and the first member of our jury. Eliza. That's 6, that's enough. Need to bring me your torch. Eliza, the tribe has spoken.
As for number 2, the unlucky soul who doesn't even get number 1 in this video, I want to ask you all a trivia question. Who is the most losingest Survivor player when it comes to challenges? And I'm talking about players who played in like more than, 10 or 15 challenges overall. Because this is a player who attended 10 tribal councils over the course of the season, voted incorrectly at half of them, found an idol and had it misplayed, was blindsided several times, and only won 1 challenge out of 18. I am talking about Mookie Lee from Season 14 Fiji, the guy who was subjected to the worst performing tribe in Survivor history, the Orange Ravu tribe, who performed worse than iconic tribes such as Oolong, Matsing, or Manu. Ravu is the worst, and Mookie carries their torch all season long. Mookie was subjected to the most imbalanced twist in Survivor, the have versus have-nots, where he was on the have-nots tribe, a tribe that lived in squalor, which for Survivor is saying something, in a cave with very little to their name. Meanwhile, the opposition had a big hut, furniture, cutlery, and all the fixins. And I wonder what's gonna happen here. Oh yeah, of course, they won literally every pre-merge challenge except for 1. But Mookie's misfortune began in the premiere when in a schoolyard pick'em to divide the tribes, he was of course picked last, because he is just that unlucky from the onset. He loses 2 allies in the first 2 episodes, seemingly pushes for Anthony to go in episode 3 as a potential vote split, and Sylvia goes. He then gets stuck on a swapped Ravu tribe, still living in a cave, and continues his downward spiral up until the merge. At the merge, Mookie gets a second swap tribe where he loses again, and this time doesn't get a chance to strategize, voting in the minority to save Michelle, who gets taken out in one of the lamest twist eliminations I've ever seen. And Mookie really wanted Michelle to stay, so I will always support him in that endeavor. Mookie then makes the merge down in numbers, but hopes that he can flip Stacy to his side to give him the numbers, who is also the woman that he just tried to vote out, as well as making sure Dreams is on his side. He tells Dreams about his idol to bring him closer to himself, and of course, with Mookie's game up to this point, it's only fitting that Dreams betrays Mookie and tells everyone in the cast about his idol. This leads to Mookie misplaying the idol after he gives it to Alex, only to see Edgardo get picked off as a safe vote. And then, in the next episode, this is just getting redundant, Mookie's last episode of the season put him out of his misery. His closest ally, Alex, turns on him and votes him out in a 4-3-1 vote. Mookie Lee went to 10 tribals, one of the most ever for a player in a single season, and still only managed 8th place, hitting every branch along the way down to this middle of the road finish. He was interviewed a few years ago and said that he never watched another episode of Survivor after his season.
11th person voted out and the 5th member of our jury. Mookie. Mookie, tribe has spoken.
Now, before I get to number 1, I want to list a few honorable mentions. One of the players who inspired me to make this video idea in the first place was actually Janine from Season 43, who basically had a rough 3 episodes in the post-merge that led me to wonder how unlucky she really was. While I don't have her in my top 5, I would say that she's still up there overall. That Dwight blindside, while he's apparently quote-unquote holding her idol, is just devastating. There's of course a ton of players who were screwed at the swap, but I'm not going to be listing them here. They were definitely unlucky though, and I have actually made a video about that many years ago. I also want to give a special shout out to Malcolm for the final immunity in Philippines being the one thing in life he sucks at, as well as JT unintentionally screwing him over in Game Changers. And I'm also including Stephanie from Season 10 Palau and Season 11 Guatemala, as well as Season 20 Heroes vs. Villains, mostly because she was on Oolong, which is a massive stroke of bad luck, just a tribe full of L's, but also because she lost something like 80% of all challenges she's competed in across 3 seasons, which is rough. It doesn't beat Mookie winning only 5%, but still, at least Steph reached the final tribal council and got to pitch her case to the jury in Season 11. Because I cannot say the same for who I have as the most unlucky Survivor player ever. I think many of you know who I'm talking about. This isn't as obscure a player or placement as the rest of this video may have been. When I boiled it down, I decided the overall quantity of game-ending bad luck over the span of 4 seasons had to have this person be number 1. Even in spite of all their success, I think they had to be at the top of this list. From season 12 Panama, season 16 Micronesia, season 20 Heroes vs. Villains, and of course, season 34 Game Changers. It is Cirie Fields. And of course, I started the video with Cirie. Of course it's going to be Cirie the whole time, the woman who nearly won 2 seasons, who made it to the end of 3, was idled out in a 4th, and really should have her own head statue dumped onto the beaches of Fiji at this point. I have talked about Cirie a lot on this channel, but you know, let's just cover the basics. If Aris doesn't win immunity at the final 4 of season 12, Cirie wins. Or if she forces fire, she wins if Aris can't make fire. Or possibly if she beats Danielle in fire. While I do kind of feel like Aris might beat her in a jury vote, it's still up in the air. After all the hard work she put in to overcome being the first boot, to survive the initial Kasaya outcast status, to wrangle the Kasaya tribe circus for the entire season, after all that, she gets cut short because an overpowered idol gets in the way and the wrong person wins immunity. It's not a huge deal of bad luck, but it's a start. In season 16, she gets all the way to the final 3, breaking that final 4 barrier, and then the producers decide to make it a final 2. Oh, how convenient. Despite basically switching over to an indefinite final 3 from there on out, the constant medical evacuations on Micronesia screw up the schedule, and thus the impromptu final 2 is born. We saw it in Tocantins and Cagayan as well, but otherwise it is a rare thing in Survivor. Cirie was on the butt end of it when she most likely wins that final tribal against Parvati and Amanda. I've crunched those numbers through some deep dive digging, and it is most likely a 3-2-2 split with Cirie winning. Although, we'll never know for sure. In Heroes vs. Villains, she gets idled out early in the game when one guy in her alliance decides to get cheeky. Again though, this does happen to a lot of people, so I'm not really holding it too much in Cirie's favor here, but it's still unfortunate. And then we get to Game Changers, where Cirie again overcomes being a potential early boot with her reputation, goes all the way to the final 6, only to have an unprecedented advantage pop up, the legacy advantage. Never seen before except in the previous season, which nobody on the cast had seen except for Zeke and Michaela. Cirie can't play around that, what she doesn't know, let alone that Troyzan holds an idol all season, or that Ty holds 2 idols from the pre-merge up to this point. And the wrong person wins immunity, and Cirie's closest ally flips on her. Cirie didn't even get a vote cast against her that night, yet had to leave because she was the only one without an island trinket in her possession. All the wrong stars aligned again for her to get knocked out. Cirie's misfortune is a running gag in the Survivor community. When anything bad happens on any season of Survivor, there's at least a 50% chance Cirie will get voted out. I don't think any of these incidents alone are strong enough to catapult her to number 1, but when you just add them all together, cumulatively, I can't help but put her at number 1 for the unluckiest.
Danielle wins the challenge. Danielle stays in the game. Cirie becomes the 6th member of our jury.
Sorry.
Cirie,
Yeah.
tribe has spoken. 15th person voted out, and the 8th and final member of our jury. Cirie.
It's okay. It's all right.
Cirie, the tribe has spoken.
Love you as a person, but you're way too good at wrapping some of these really weak minds around your little finger.
I'd like to play the immunity idol.
Thank you. 4th person voted out of Survivor, Heroes vs. Villains. Cirie. Cirie, the tribe has spoken.
You become the first person in 34 seasons to be voted out simply because there literally is no other choice.
I'm going out in grand style. It never happened before, and it just makes this experience that much more special for me.
Cirie, you want to say it?
The tribe has spoken. Ah.
And that's it. Those are the top 5 Survivor players I believe are the most unlucky. Beyond the swap screws and the first boots, and I guess people who get screwed over by twists, maybe like Devin and Chrissy, that's my top 5. But who do you think are the top 5 most unlucky? And what do you think about my picks? A big thank you to my patrons for luckily deciding your own luck and watching these videos ahead of time. Just a perk of supporting me. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to count your lucky stars on your way out. And I will see you in the next one, once I advocate to Jeff for Survivor 5th time's the charm.
Cirie, how many days of Survivor have you played now?
Not enough.
So trust no one.